What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and you might have seen last week I posted a video about the 3 different deck options that I was going to be taking into set champs. It turns out I'm a big liar because the maybe day after posting that video, I dropped all 3 of those decks, and now I'm running 2 totally different ones. So I don't know if I'd call it actually lying, more so I really didn't have it locked in on which one of them I was going to be bringing. And if I'm being honest, I actually still don't know which out of these 2 decks I'll be bringing to my set champ tournaments. I do have almost like a practice tournament coming up this weekend, so maybe we'll bring probably the more wild card one to that one to test it out in a tournament setting. But anyway, thank you guys for checking out the channel, dealing with a little bit of rambling there at the start. Let's get right into the deck lists. I'm going to show off a Ruby Amber deck first, and then the second deck that I'm thinking about bringing to set champs is actually going to be a variation of Harlan's Kiwi Birds, the Sapphire Steel aggro-ish deck. I think it just has the perfect fit for the meta that I typically see at my favorite local game store. So that really is the one that I'm leaning towards, but it's still worth checking out both of these. So let's switch over to the overhead camera and we'll take a look at it. All right, so the first deck, like I said, is going to be an Amber Ruby. It is a Mufasa, or what I found online, people are calling this a Raya Fasa build. And the whole idea here is to try and get your characters out either before curve or to replenish your board after they're taken off the board. All right, so let's start off with the 1-drops. We'll be running 4 copies of the Mulan Injured Soldier. She comes in with 2 damage already on her, so perfect target for Rapunzel if you can keep her on the board. I'm also using the shift target you'll see later of Mulan, which with our like coupons to get things out cheaper, ideally we'd want to shift our shift card on top of this. It will come in with damage if we can't heal it, but that is the ideal play we're looking for. The other 1-drop is going to be 3 copies of Moana. We don't run any captains in the deck, so Moana won't be able to challenge anything, but a turn 1 3 strength character that can shut down an enemy's Flynn early on and allow us time to ramp up and get our strong characters on the board is really good. Also, if they want to take something out, it's going to take out most early game characters that our opponent's going to be playing. Into like a steel deck, unfortunately both of these usually will end up being just ink because steel can get rid of these really easily. All right, and then next up for the 2-drops, because we have a lot of characters and a lot of characters with a lot of strength, we're going to run 3 copies of Flynn, just as like a bonus way to rush and get some lore early on in the game. I think in the deck list online that I'll have posted, I have 4 copies of Mother Gothel. I can't find my 4th one, so in the version I've been testing, I don't have a proxy in for it yet, but I just have 3 here right now. But you should be seeing the most up-to-date version of the deck over on Dreamborn, which is listed below. Same thing with Lumineer. Pretty sure I've been running with 3 copies of this in my online tests, but in paper right now, just have 2 to show off. Lumiere's great because not only does he buff things like Flynn to get him out of brawl range, but we also get to take advantage of our characters just having more strength. It's going to keep a lot of things safe. Mother Gothel is going to be safe from Madame Medusa. Flynn's going to be safe from getting bounced by Cloud Kicker or be taken out by a big Sisu. And overall, just a really great card to kind of just keep on your playmat. Give everything +1 strength. Okay, so for the 3-drops, we do have a lot of them. First up, we're going to do 4 copies of the Inkable Sisu. This one gets more strength for the more cards that our opponent has. The classic Flynn on turn 2 into a Sisu, definitely in play here. Sisu also, quest for 2, has 4 willpower, so can survive a lot of the early game aggression. Gets taken out by like an Along Came Zeus or a double singing Ursula, Deceiver of All, but you guys already know, classic Ruby combo there. So now unique to this deck is going to be actually Gaston. So Gaston, Despicable Dealer. He is uninkable, and he's only a 2/4, so he is susceptible to late game things like Sisu or early game things like Brawl. But if we can get him to stick onto the field on our turn, we can actually exert him, and then our next character is going to cost 2 less to play. We have 60 characters in the deck, so just a really great way to get like coupons out. You can cheat out some really late game cards as early as turn 4, turn 5, which is really cool. And then also remember that Lumiere is actually going to be protecting him from Brawl as long as like the opponent doesn't have an ice block or something like that. Then the last 3-cost card we're going to be running is Pongo. Since we have all those characters, Pongo is technically a 3-cost card, but I wouldn't play him unless we're playing him for 1 because of Gaston, and that's because we really want to use his ability as soon as he comes down. Paying 2 ink to guarantee that we're drawing a card because we don't have anything other than characters in the deck is just really, really good. And then if he can stick on the board, even if it's just for 1 extra turn, you'll be able to draw an extra card, and then you'll have more plays later in the game. All right, and now on to our 4-cost cards. This is where we get the Raya part of Raya Fasa. The new Raya card from set 6 reads, during your turn, when you put a card into your inkwell, you get to ready another chosen character of yours. Now they can't quest for the rest of the turn, they can still challenge, and they can still like turn to exert. So you can actually pair this Raya with Gaston. So now Gaston's able to exert twice in a single turn, and as early as turn number 5, you can get up to like a 9-drop Maleficent Dragon out onto the field, which is just crazy. We don't have that card in the deck. We do have some 8-cost cards that we love to get out if we have that combo going, because if you can get like a big Sisu or one of our other big heavy hitters out on turn 5, we can really just steamroll the game. And then even if you can't do that, being able to keep that Gaston nice and ready so that he can't be challenged easily and be taken out is super good with this Raya. Then speaking of Gaston, another play that I do typically like to make with Gaston on turn 4 would be with the Rapunzel. You can combo Gaston and the 2-cost Mother Gothel, which we play for free with Gaston, to then on turn 4 instantly use Rapunzel. That's going to allow us to draw the 3 cards, also get that big bodied 3/4 Mother Gothel onto the board, and just a really strong combo that we can use early in the game. And then another card that pairs very well with Raya, being able to ready more than 1 time in a turn, is Goofy Super Goof. If he's able to attack twice in a single turn, we'll get 4 lore from that exchange. You just got to make sure that he doesn't get taken out on his first challenge, but super awesome to be able to do that. All right, now we're at the 5-cost cards. Obviously, this is a Mufasa deck. We have 4 copies of Mufasa. Whenever he gets banished, we get to look at the top card of our deck. If it's a character, which it's going to be in this deck, we get to play it for free, Exerted, which if we have Raya on the field and we can still ink on our turn, means we can ready that card. So you can challenge something with Mufasa, get that free card off the top, ready it because we have the Raya on the field, or we just get a free card to come back to the board after a Be Prepared. You guys can already see how strong of a card this can be. My wife kicked my butt with this card, getting multiple 7 or 8-drop cards from the deck with her Mufasas. I think this card is really what makes me love this deck. I love the mystery of just not knowing what card you're going to get for free when this comes off the board. And because he quests for 2, your opponent does need to deal with him in some way or another. The only time Mufasa really feels bad is if you're playing against Sapphire and you know they have a Hades, because him going into your inkwell and you not getting that free card does tend to hurt a little bit. The other 5-cost card that we are going to be playing is a Evasive Goofy. Goofy Daredevil from set number 1. He's a 3/4 with Evasive, quest for 2. If Lumiere is on the field, he is a 4/4, can take out a genie in 1 hit. Even on his own, he's going to be able to take out Diablos, even if they're staying at a cove with the extra willpower and strength. And when you pair him with things like Gaston, we can get him out a lot earlier than that turn 5. All right, now moving on to the 6-cost cards. This is where really the deck can just be customized to whatever big cards you want to play. So to start with my 6-cost cards, I do have the Big Mulan, the versions from the Lumiere's quest, so we get a little extra flare points. But when she comes down, if it's a shift, she becomes a 5/6 for the turn. And then when she deals damage to a character on the other side of the board, you actually get to pick 2 more characters to do that same damage. We have another character that has support that can give her some more strength, because she gets to keep that like triple shot ability. So if we're not able to shift her, or if we want to use her multiple turns, it's not the end of the world. Speaking of that character with support, it is the new Judy Hopps card. Judy Hopps is a 3/6, and not only does she have support, but she has an amazing ability that has some great synergy with our deck. And her ability is Need Some Help. At the end of your turn, you actually get to ready one of your other chosen characters. So if we've attacked with this Mulan, for example, we've given her the bonus strength from support, we can ready her, keep her safe to challenge again on the next turn. Same thing, like if you get a Judy Hopps and Gaston down, you can always just keep readying him over and over again. And that right there is actually a pretty good combo that's just Amber specific. Gaston into Judy, with Gaston coming down on 3, you're going to ink for turn 4, get the +2 coupon discount for Gaston, and then Judy comes down and you end your turn, Gaston readies, and now you have your combo basically ready until your opponent can answer it, because both those cards are never going to be exerted. Other 6-drop cards that I'm running in this version, we've got 2 copies of a new Goofy. It's Goofy Flying Goof. Not only is he evasive, he's also Rush with a 5/5 body. Same thing, if we're able to combo this with Gaston, this Goofy's great because he hits pretty much any evasive target that is being played in the metagame. Your Diablos at Coves, your Genies, your Elsas. This takes out Maui Shark in one go. Just a great card to be able to hopefully play in addition with that Gaston to get him out really early and just surprise your opponent to take something out. Other tech cards we're running. In the paper version, I only have 1 copy of the Lady Tremaine. I do have another one lying around somewhere, but I need to locate that before set champs. This is great for just off the top removal. And then a copy of Perdita. Perdita allows us to replay like our Lumieres or our Flynns from the discard pile when you play her and whenever she quests. So if we need to pick up the pace and get some lore really quickly and we have high strength characters on our side of the field, we can go get that Flynn back. Or if we want to give some of our other characters protection by giving them more strength, go grab that Lumiere. Just a great card to, if we can get it out for free or for cheap, just keep recycling our low cost characters to keep the board nice and filled. At the 7 cost slot, since we do run all characters in the deck, we're running 4 copies of Silver Stitch. Silver Stitch, when you play him, if you have 2 characters on the board, you actually get to draw 2 cards. The only time it really stinks to see Stitch is after a Be Prepared, because you don't get the benefit of his secondary effect, but he's still really great. 4/8 body, questing for 2, and if you can get him out on turn 5, even better. As I said, all these cards that I'm showing from 6 on can be played super early if we get our early game set up correctly. That's why we have 2 copies of Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor, a really strong evasive card that quests for a lot. One day, hopefully these get replaced with golden Mickeys, but who knows? I think this is actually one of the first decks I've seen in more recent competitive Lorcana using this card, but really this is like the jackpot hit with a Mufasa, or if you can get that Gaston and Raya combo off, getting this out on turn 5 is just huge. Another classic for Ruby at that 8 cost is going to be Sisu. Now we can get Sisu out on a little bit earlier because we're playing the smaller Sisu, but just really a great way to deal with aggro decks, especially if we can play it for free or play it for cheaper. And then this is one of my personal favorite cards from the new set. A single copy of Chip and Dale Recovery Rangers. Chip and Dale has the ability of, during your turn, whenever you ink a card, you can return any character from your discard to your hand. So if we need to come back and answer an aggro board again, we can grab a Sisu. If we need to draw some cards, we can grab a Stitch. If we need to get rid of a ward card, Lady Tremaine. There's just so much versatility to be able to reuse these character cards. And I think the best hit for Mufasa, getting this out for free, getting some ink, you could just bring that Mufasa back when you ink. It's just crazy. My wife hit this combo on me when we were playing the other day, and basically the only option I had was concede, because they just got to pull pretty much any card that I got rid of right back to their hand. Now, it doesn't get played for free with Chippendale, but this deck really doesn't have any issues playing their characters. And I think for the tournament, I'm gonna go ahead and sleeve up the enchanted version of the card, swap out the hollow, and hopefully we can get somebody with a Mufasa Chippendale combo off the top. That does it for the Ruby Amber Raya Fasa deck, as I've seen it called online. Like I said, anything after, I'd say, the 5 or 6 cost character slot, completely customizable to whatever meta you're seeing or whatever your favorite high cost characters are. So have fun with it, customize it, see what works, what doesn't work. From what I've seen, the only danger of that deck really is going to be like those heavy discard Emerald Steels, or if you go up against Emerald Amethyst and they have a lot of early game bouncing, if you're not able to get your Lumiere to stick on the field, that usually means you're not going to be able to get Gaston to stick on the field, and then you're going to have a lot of trouble playing those high cost characters early enough to really deal with the aggro threat. So those are probably the only 2 matchups, if they're common to you, I would avoid. And with Emerald Steel ticking up in popularity again, that's what actually has me leaning towards a variation of the Kiwi Birds deck. I'm going to go over that now. It's Sapphire Steel. If you're already familiar with Kiwi Birds, the only change that I've made here is, instead of the beasts, I'm running 2 copies of Aurora. This allows me to go straight from Alice to Pluto, protecting Pluto with Ward, and then on turn 5, I can play my Aurora, Aurora gives everything ward on your side of the field except her, but we should still have that Alice on the field. Alice then protects Aurora, and then we're completely safe from any steal counters. So let's go over the full deck now. If you guys are hopping off after that, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, share the video, leave an emoji in the comments. But if you're still here for the rest of it, let's get right into the Sapphire Steel deck list. All right, so this deck runs 8 different 1-drops. It's going to run 4 copies of the Robin Hood. We run the shift line for Robin Hood, so really just a good card to get on the field if it can survive and you're not playing against like a Steel Song on the draw or a Ruby match on the draw. Robin Hood is great if we can get that shift out on turn number 3. Otherwise, I tend to play my Mickey Mouse with resist on turn number 1. Mickey's great. He can survive most turn 1, turn 2 plays, and opponents usually will let him just quest for a couple turns before they really deal with him. So you can get some sneaky lore totals with this Mickey. And if we're able to answer what our opponent has on the field, the resist could really come into handy. In the 2-drop slot, we're running 4 copies of Mr. Smee. On the play, the best turn 2 play you can make. You can get some nice early lore. He quests for a lot. He has a 3/3 stat line, so he's trading with whatever attacks into him that early in the game. Otherwise, I tend to look for Calhoun. And if you've watched videos on the channel, you might see I've been taking some heat over my rating of Calhoun. I am playing 4 copies of Calhoun, even though I listed her as a B tier. Calhoun in this deck is really good, able to trade into those low strength characters, take them off the field with 3 strength on her own. Can also take out things like the Madam Mim snakes, Madam Mim foxes in a single trade, which is really good. You don't get the lore if they take you out, but still really good to get some of those cards into the discard. We're running 3 copies of Doc. Doc, because we're running so low to the ground, we're going to be looking to get into top deck mode pretty early. Doc, if we get into top deck mode, is going to be able to refill our hand. And then because we do need some removal for like the Flynn's that never turn or the Diablos that we're not able to attack because we don't have evasive, we've got Baboom here to take them out. All right, and then probably the best card in the deck that really just, if you can get this down and start protecting your important cards, always look to do so. It's going to be the new Alice card with Ward. When she quests, she gives another card on your side of the field ward and an additional lore when they quest. Super good at protecting your bodyguard, protecting your high questers. We run 4 copies of Pete, Games Referee, shutting down things like Be Prepared, or if we go really wide against Steel, this can shut down things like Along Came Zeus, Grab Your Sword. If our opponent doesn't have any cards in their hand, it shuts down Whole New World. 3 copies of John Silver. He is our captain of the deck, or one of our captains in the deck. So he's going to protect Smee from taking unnecessary damage on turn 3. Also has the added benefit of we can choose one of our opponent's characters, and now they can't challenge on their turn. So you can put this on like a Calhoun, and then it most likely is just going to stay ready for that turn, because questing for 1 with Calhoun just for it to be taken out the next doesn't really work well. And then again, if we get any of those 3-cost characters on the field, we also have 3 copies of Strength of Raging Fire. Being able to sing this, hopefully we have a pretty wide board. We can take out most things in the early game, especially if we have 2, 3, 4 characters on the board. All right, moving on to our 4-cost cards. This is another one where I'm kind of just waiting for my final copy of a different card to put in the deck. But for the moment, we're running with 3 copies of Scrooge McDuck. This will drop down to just 2 once I get another Pluto. You'll see in a second. But Scrooge is really good. He's a 5/5, quest for 2. Getting him out on turn 4. Basically just being able to take out anything that challenges into him, especially in the early game. It can easily shut down like the Flynn and Sisu combo, because at that stage in the game, we're not going to have very much cards in our hand, and the 5 strength from Scrooge in most cases is going to be the highest strength character on the field. But all in all, just a really good 4-cost card with high stats and questing for 2. Already said I'm waiting for 1 more copy, but right now we have 3 copies of Pluto Guard Dog. We're going to get 4 copies of Pluto Guard Dog in the deck. Pluto, while he doesn't have damage on him, he is a 5/5. And he has bodyguard. So if you can Alice onto Pluto, protect him from those single target spells that might just do 2 damage on him, taking away his ability bonus, is really, really strong. And he's able to protect Alice, who would then be exerted. And then specifically for our Ruby matchups, we have 3 copies of McDuck Manor. McDuck Manor with its 9 willpower is really hard for characters to take out in a single turn. So a great card for after a Be Prepared, where no one has any cards on the board. You can just passively get 2 lore every single turn, and it's really going to put the pedal to the metal to finish out that end game. All right, and then the deck actually tops out at 5 ink. So these are our last cards in the deck. When playing, I would recommend just stopping inking at turn 5. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that, but in the most cases, we're going to want to be playing every single card that we get off the top and not really inking it. So once we get to 5 ink, feel free to just play anything that you draw, and hopefully the deck's built well enough to get you to that victory. As you saw, 2 copies of Aurora, great at protecting your other cards, and when comboed with that Alice, just giving your entire board immunity, except from things like Grab Your Sword or Be Prepared, Big Sisu. Our big quester that we're going to be looking to protect with Aurora or with Alice is going to be Gantu. Gantu is a 4/3, so unless you have that Pluto on the field protecting him, he most likely is only going to get to quest once. But Alice plus Gantu is 5 lore when he quests, so if you can do it once, that's great. If you can do it twice, even better, because we do need to take out other things, and we already have the 1 cost Robin Hood in. We've got the 3/6 Robin Hood with 2 abilities. Not only does he have the same thing as Calhoun, where when he takes something out, he gets 2 lore for you, but if he is banished during a challenge, you get to draw a card, which our deck doesn't have a lot of ways to draw cards, but most of the times opponents seem to be really using their removal on this Robin Hood, whether it be Madame Medusa, keeping their Lady Tremaines, or Be Prepared for things like this, because they don't want to give you that free card. But if you do find yourself in a challenging game, challenging as in like battling, not as in like hard, although hard could work as well. We have 2 copies of Baymax. Once I get to Worlds and go nuts in the side events, I know they haven't announced it yet, but hopefully it's the same as the Continentals, because I really want to get that Baymax and that Cusco. But 2 copies of Baymax Armored Companion. When you play him, you can heal one of your characters for up to 2. You actually get lore equal to that value, and that happens every time you quest as well. So when you pair it with like a Robin Hood or with your Pluto, just being able to get some damage on it, you're probably going to take that other thing out that it's challenging into, and then you get 2 lore for questing with Baymax, and probably another 2 for healing something with Baymax. The best suggestion here, though, is if you're playing Ruby, unfortunately, because he only has 2 strength, he's pretty much ink every single game, unless you get into the late game, or you're already at that 5 ink total, because he's going to be taken out by Big Sisu. So I would just hold him in your hand, and in that case, hopefully you can get something on the field with damage on it, so you can get his benefit at least once. And then another 2 strength character that doesn't do well in Ruby, pretty much just here for the steal counter, is going to be Cogsworth. Has a ward, gives everything on your side of the field resist 1. These 6 cards, pretty much automatic ink, like I said, into a Ruby matchup. But other than that, very strong utility cards. We love that they are all inkable. And against Steel, if you can get this Cogsworth out on turn 5, good luck trying to take anything out on your side of the field, especially if you're able to use something like that Baymax as well. So that does it for our variation of the Kiwi Birds deck. Like I said, most likely going to be what I'm taking to at least one of the set champs that I'm going to, but we'll see. I still want to play a couple more games in person with the Chippendale Raya Fasa deck. So I don't know. I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe I'll play it on Pixelboard. If you guys have made it all the way to the end, you watch both deck lists, let me know in the comments which one you like more. Are you tempted to try out either of them, neither of them? If that's the case, just leave a thumbs up in the comments. Share the video with somebody who might enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good luck to anyone out there competing in set champs. I hope you get your Scar cards and your Scar playmats. This always is the most exciting time for Lorcana, and I love that we get to experience it every 3 months, basically. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!